in an undisclosed part of space.
Claxx, I have brought what you asked for.
Ah, Seeker, my trusted little hound. You brought me some news?
I have carried out your bidding, my lord. I have sought out all I could about the Vy'Keen, known as Tyrannin.
And what did you find?
Much, my lord. I will try to be brief, but these spec ops left so much information to gather, I'm almost overwhelmed, and it may take some time.
I want to know everything, Seeker. A chance meeting during one of my little incognito retreats ended in an insult and a threat to my life.
Had I been there, Lord, I would have ripped them limb from limb for daring to insult the Lord of all system lords.
You're a loyal one, Seeker, but enough of your pandering. Just tell me what I want to know, and be thorough.
As you wish, my lord. Tyrannin, signed as a galactic trooper at 15, took part in the 1st through 4th expeditions within a year of signing. During the 1st expedition, he won the Medal of the Galactic Heart for receiving a wound while carrying out rearguard actions during the tactical retreat at Koshana. He was promoted straight to sergeant. During the 2nd, he again won the Galactic Heart, as well as the Order of the Diamond Heart, for outstanding performance of duties in dire circumstances. The files I found indicate he refused a retreat order and single-handedly freed 57 prisoners of war that were being held, including his now number 2, Tim. He won the medals but wasn't promoted, or demoted either. It seems he also freed the son of someone important. Those files I could not get access to. So whoever it was, they're very well connected. His 3rd expedition was Derek Badur, my lord.
The Scouring?
As you say, lord, the scouring of Derek Badur is well documented, my lord. And unless commanded otherwise, I will forego the details, except to say this, lord. Sergeant Tyrannin was with those in the Govarian mines. He didn't make a big splash like Vidaka, but he was there and survived. He was promoted past lieutenant to captain and remained in service, unlike a lot of the others.
Ballsy.
Expedition 4 was to the Igan system. It met more resistance than the incompetent intelligence agencies had assessed. The friendly fire incident of 224.74.022 was enough for Tyrannin and Tim to retire their commissions and move into Spec Ops.
Well, if only they'd had you in your service, Seeker, things might have turned out a little bit different.
Indeed, Lord. Seeker has his ways, and Seeker would have relished the chance to watch all that chaos unfold and know that Seeker helped make it happen.
Keep talking, Seeker, but enough of the background. Tell me his recent history, weaknesses, and where best to cut him where it would hurt the most. What about his family?
As you wish, Lord. As a Spec Ops commander, he had a solid team. Their total numbers are unknown, but their record is flawless. Every mission complete and all goals achieved. A natural hunter, you could say. Then, he retired.
Retired? He didn't seem retired to me, Seeker. I think you might be slipping.
He was retired, my lord, I swear it. However, some time ago he was approached by someone called Leza Helenara, who claimed to be a representative of the conglomerate.
What are they up to, I wonder?
Seeker will cover that shortly, my lord, but this particular approach was under the direct order of the boss. It seems one of Tyrannin's final missions was the destruction of a large weapons stockpile belonging to the conglomerate. The boss ordered a strike on Tyrannin's family as an object lesson to some circling sharks.
That sounds about right. That's the lesson he tends to prefer. I'm gonna take a wild guess and say it didn't go the way he expected.
Yes, Lord. This Leza Eleanor offered a pittance for his family's business. Tyrannin refused aggressively, and in response, his family home was attacked and his father grievously hurt. So as you can see, my lord, he became very much unretired.
I see. Go on.
Well, Lord, from this point forward, gathering information became very easy indeed. Tyrannid and his cohorts have blown up and burned half the galaxy in search of Leza Helenara. Almost had her too on Zamuskin Minor, but she was extracted at the last second by a fellow called Ralph. Details on this individual are frustratingly vague. I did, however, find out that the freighter they were traveling on was shut down and crashed on Errol E-17.
You mean the one that's been on the news wave?
The very same, Lord. What the newswave reports incorrectly was that all hands were killed.
Incorrect as usual. So who survived?
Most of the common crew, I suspect. But my analysis has given very strange readings. The core of the ship, where officers are billeted and important equipment is stored, is, well, remarkably unscathed according to my probe readings.
You care to explain that?
Seeker cannot explain, Lord. Either Seeker's readings are off or some type of shielding was employed around certain areas of the freighter. But its scale beggars belief. Seeker cannot comprehend the reason for such a measure.
I can, to protect something very valuable indeed. And if the common crew survived, no doubt there are what I like to call high-value survivors.
My lord's wisdom is great. Indeed, this is why. Poor Seeker could not see, but Master did. And oh, how quickly! Great Master, kind Master!
You're groveling again, Seeker. Get on with it. I'm getting bored.
Yes, Lord, right away. After Le Zelenara escaped his clutches, Tyrannid had a new friend, one called Geckbert. Look for information on her whereabouts. This Geckbert is the one who set up the meeting, Lord.
Yeah, I remember him. I should have squashed him like a bug the first time I saw him. How I wish for the gift of foresight. Go on, Seeker.
After your ill-fated meeting, the party retired to a shooting range, then to a quiet back room. I was able to get security footage, but I'm afraid it has no audio, Lord. However, I believe they intend on attacking. Who and what I cannot say, but I have reviewed the footage and all clues point to them planning an attack.
Not against me. They didn't know who I was. The Gek suspected, but they didn't know, so who?
Seeker cannot say without more information, Lord. Or more time, so Seeker can seek the information.
It was rhetorical, Seeker, but I think I know their plan. Given the reaction to the news wave about the crash with no survivors, plus having an equal hate for Lizelinara and that trade lord Gekana fella, add in the information they got from me about Gekana's archive, and boom, you got yourself a target.
Very astute, my lord.
You don't even consciously recognize that you're pandering, do you? It's like second nature to beings like you. I believe you mentioned that you had more info on the conglomerate's role in this whole business.
Oh yes, my lord. Tyrannid's quarry Le Zelenara is nearly as interesting as he is. Her early life is impossible to verify beyond a few basic facts. She was born on one of the heavily industrialized planets near Euclid's core, and at 12 years old was staying at an orphanage when the boss adopted all the kids en masse. She quickly distinguished herself.
Ah yes, mass conscriptment of unwanted younglings. I've used that tactic myself on occasion, with varying success.
She became a fixer for the conglomerate and quickly became the boss's preferred agent. With an unbroken history of success, there was no reason to think she wouldn't continue that streak when she was assigned to Tyrannid. Unfortunately for her, with Tyrannid she encountered something she had never dealt with before.
And am I supposed to guess what that is, you sycophantic ass?
Oh no, not at all, illustrious lord. I was simply debating how to phrase it. The best name I can think to put on what she encountered was loyalty. If it had just been Tyrannid, I'm fairly confident she would have been successful. However, most of Tyrannid's Spec Ops crew had retired along with him, and so when he put out his call for help, instead of one pissed-off Spec Ops operator, the first 10 arrived almost immediately, with an unknown number arriving before day's end. Final count unknown.
Now that's a horse of a different color indeed.
They tracked her to a trading outpost ran by pirates, bankrolled by the conglomerate. But the boss found out and got her out of there before they arrived. In an attempt to get her out of Tyrannet's reach, the boss had her be his liaison with a new contact in an entirely different galaxy.
This conglomerate has definitely been making big moves lately. This rumor about them having pet sentinels at their beck and call is very disturbing.
It is no longer a rumor, Master. I've been able to confirm it. In fact, I believe the contact Zelenara was sent to meet is the source of the conglomerate's control of sentinels. Information from the system she was dispatched to is very hard to verify, not only because of the damage done by Tyrannet and his crew, but there is also some sort of blight affecting the flora of the system. I'm still working on confirming all my data, but one thing I am certain of is this, that but for the last-second arrival of Rolf, Tyrannet would have had Zelenara in his grasp. Rolf took her to his freighter and it warped out of the system. This is the same freighter that crashed on Errol E-17.
Tell me more about this Rolf. Is he going to be a problem?
I am afraid I lack the data to say for sure, most illustrious one. I'm still digging, but the lack of data about this person makes me suspicious. I've been able to find reports of a Gek named Rolf who was helping a disgraced Korvax researcher named Yundal Hapet. Hapet reported him as KIA nearly 3 years ago. Then 6 months later, Hapet himself disappeared. Then, just a few months ago, Rolf suddenly reappeared. I've combed through terabytes of data and cannot find a single mention of a Gek named Rolf during the time period he was missing. It's truly like he died and was later resurrected. He now refers to himself as Void Gek Rolf.
Void Gek. That's a new one. And since we're on the subject of Geks, tell me more about Gekbert, the one who set up this little meeting that ended up in threats and intimidation. I find being on the receiving end of those things much less enjoyable.
Those scum! But I will continue, Master. The Gek known as Gekbert, his family died during some sort of infectious outbreak on his home planet while he was away working for the planetary administrator. Performance reports from as far back as primary school reference the fact that he was rather martial for a Gek. The loss of his family only exacerbated these tendencies. It was a surprise to no one when he joined the Vy'Keen in their assault on Zelenara's fortress. He got quite the show from all reports. The Vy'Keen attacked with unbridled ferocity, often foregoing firing their weapon only to close with the defenders and use it as a club.
Now that's interesting. Did you know that the Gek pheromones affect other species differently than they do other Gek? I wonder if the Vy'Keen smelled a certain pheromone that triggered battle rage. That definitely bears further research, but I digress. Continue.
After Zelenara was spirited away by Rolf, Gekbert used contacts he developed while working with the system administrator to reach out to you. He thought he was only reaching out to a local fixer. I don't think he realized who you really were.
Like I mentioned earlier, I think he started to suspect by the end of our conversation.
Since none of the Vy'Keen seemed to catch that, it would appear he's the brains of the group. To close things out, Master, here's a quick rundown of known associates. This is Tim, Tyrannet's second in command. He's sarcastic and quick-witted, a perfect foil for Tyrannet's dour seriousness. This is Kai, another ex-Spec Ops Vy'Keen who retired with Tyrannet. This is Bosun Dradren, the chief engineer aboard Rolf's freighter. My spiders report that since the freighter's crash, he has become Rolf's de facto second in command. Also of minor note is a report of some type of makeshift base near the crash site. Spiders had limited access, so I could only glean the names of 3 individuals. They are Malin, Novadra, and Kill. This is Trade Lord Kakana, Gekbert's boss. He is always ready to betray anyone if the money is right. He decided to betray Tyrannet instead of fulfilling the bargain he'd struck for his help.
Haha. I could have told him it was a bad decision, but he strikes me as one of those beings who is utterly convinced of his own genius, so I doubt he would have listened. Oh, that was very helpful, Seeker, thank you, but now that brings us to the big question.
The big question, Lord? What is the big question, almighty Lord?
What do I do next?
With a new threat emerging, an old threat recovering, and an archive-shaped target in his sights, Will Tyrannet and company perceive the danger they are in before it's too late? Stay tuned to find out as we continue Mercenary Adventures.